Welcome to the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative. This is episode number 489. Today I'm talking about the juggle is real. Now let's dive in. Hey, I'm Taylor Bradford, host of the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative. I help small business owners turn their purpose into a paycheck, and it starts with visibility. In the online world, visibility equates to sales. So if you're dreaming of being the next $1 million entrepreneur, you've come to the right place because weekly I share visibility tips, brand advice, and business resources. So grab a notebook, your favorite pen, and a beverage, and let's do the work. Hello, beautiful human. Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Bradford. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of today's episode, which is about having to juggle and kind of like how the juggle is real. I thought that was a catchy title. Anyways, before we get there and before we dive into this week's social media headlines, friendly reminder, there are 3 ways that you can continue to support the show besides listening, which is pretty awesome. And I would actually love for you to start listening through Spotify if you haven't started listening through Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Here's a easy link to get to my show. All you got to do is remember bossgirlcreative.com/listen. It's going to take you to a platform where you can select where you want to listen to my show and get to my latest episodes really easily. It will actually open up your preferred podcast listening app. And again, I would really like if you would switch over to Spotify. I'm having Apple Podcast issues. Actually, it's a relationship thing. Doesn't everything boil down to relationships? Anyways, I'm having a relationship issue, a relationship struggle with Apple Podcasts right now. And I'd kind of like for you to head on over to a different platform if you are currently using Apple to listen to my show. So pop over to bossgirlcreative.com/listen. And yes, that is a superb way to support the show. The other way you can support the show is to buy my book, which is Pillars and Purpose, How to Build a Business That Works for You. And it's workbook style. I have a Kindle version and an actual tangible physical version that you can write in. Go to bossgirlcreative.com/pillars book. That's PILLARS book to get to that. And then I have a 90-day undated planner. So if you are trying to organize your life and practice gratitudes, practice affirmations, have a place to write your tasks and to-dos, then you need a copy of this 90-day undated planner. Go to bossgirlcreative.com/BGC planner to pick up a copy. Those are 2 ways to support the show. The third way is a one-on-one session with me. And I would love to have a one-on-one session with you if you feel compelled to have my eyeballs on the things that you are doing. And you can get to that by visiting bossgirlcreative.com/VIP because that's what you are. You are a VIP to me. And so those are 3 ways that you can support the show financially to help keep my lights going. I would so appreciate that. But yes, continue to listen because ultimately that also truly, truly matters. Okay, so let's find out what's been going on in the land of social media. Social media headline number 1, Meta experiments with facial recognition for security purposes. Meta's taking a risk by wading into facial recognition once again. Social media headline number 2, Instagram launches new profile cards. Instagram's new profile cards include updated QR codes for connection. Social media headline number 3, keeping with Instagram, they are testing a new way to keep tabs on shared content. a handy way to keep tabs on what you've engaged with in the app, which I so appreciate because when you forget where you saw a trending audio or a trending reel or whatever, like there was no history tab. So hopefully they've got this figured out. Social media headline number 4, and still with Instagram, the Instagram chief recommends posting carousels to improve reach. Here's what the Instagram chief has to say about that. Why do carousels often get more reach than photos? 2 main reasons. 1, multiple pieces of media are going to mean more interactions with your carousel posts, and more interactions is going to mean more reach on average. And 2, if someone sees your carousel post but they don't swipe, we'll often give that carousel a second chance and automatically move to that second piece of media for the viewer, which I do notice when I'm scrolling my own feed. And finally, X expands access to its powerful radar keyword analytics option. Their keyword search tool is a valuable addition to the X platform. And that wraps up this week's social media headlines. Okay, so let's talk about the Juggle is real. So last week I was on a buying trip for Sugar Creek. And what that means is here in Texas, 3 times a year, but the big shows are in the fall and in the spring. The shows that I'm talking about are called Round Top. Actually, they each have their own name for their shows based on their location, but everybody goes to Round Top. Everybody calls it Round Top, even though it literally has a span of 10 miles down this one highway. Yes, Round Top is kind of the town that's closest, but there's a lot of shopping in Warrenton, Texas, for example, and then outside in Round Top just in general. But there is tons going on in a specific time period in the spring and the fall, and then a very short window in January, which I actually might put in my calendar this coming January because it is every vendor that is more full-time in these 3 shows. And I'm not saying they're full-time, but they are there kind of permanently. And it's when they heavily discount their stuff because they're prepping for spring. And what was interesting about this show, the calendar dates were all over the place for people. There's one big show that is heavily talked about if you're in the design world. It's called Marburger, and they changed their dates this year. Normally, they fall into the second full week of the show, so it's 3 active weeks. Actually, it's probably about 3.5 active weeks of selling. And usually they come into the back half of the second full week. And this time they started in the first week, which is technically a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you walk into the first full week, and then there's a second week, and then there's a third week. So they drastically changed where they started, which meant that the designers and the vendors that were selling in Marburger were unable to do a lot of pre-shopping for their own setups as they had been doing for 10 plus years, if not longer. So that was a big change. The other big change that I heard people talking about, and it wasn't really a change because nobody could prevent the thing that happened, was the 1-day dock workers strike. So a lot of vendors buy out of Europe and overseas, and a lot of their containers, because of that 1-day strike, literally backed up in the ports, and they didn't get their containers. So they were down inventory kind of drastically for somebody that is specifically selling at a specific time of year. So I will be curious to see how January show goes for these humans, and then what spring looks like, because maybe everybody will get their, crap together. I don't know. So very interesting. And I keep making friends when I go to Round Top, or when I round top as a verb. And it's fun because I'm going twice a year, and then obviously the potential for January. But I've been going for twice a year for 10 years, and I'm not always shopping for something specific for Sugar Creek or even my Etsy shop, The Tailored Home, but sometimes I am. And in this particular instance, I was actually shopping for some items, some small decor items that my previous assistant broke. And 2 items I knew she broke because we got to where we were going, and thankfully they were not a line item rental. They are just part of a lounge setup and the decor that I bring to use for lounge creations in like the styling efforts. And 2 mirrored trays broke because she didn't properly package them for transport. And I did charge her in her last paycheck so that I could replace those 2 items. And then most recently, I had some rental items go out. And when I pulled the container down that held the items, they were amber snuff jars. There were broken bottles in that tote that she didn't tell me about. And I know we had utilized those amber jars within the time period that she worked for me, which was only about 7 months. And she didn't tell me. And oh my gosh, that drives me crazy. Like, why can you not just be honest about things? That particular assistant broke a lot of things. She broke a succulent and didn't tell me. She just, but I don't know if it was Butterfingers or what, but yeah. So let's talk about the Juggle is real. So now I have a new assistant. She has been with me this is her 3rd week. And last week she had to work by herself because I had plans with the Round Top show. And I didn't want to cancel that because I was still looking for furniture for my lounge setups. And I did end up buying another big Chesterfield sofa, which I named Easton. Man, this one's a beauty. And it's newer, so it's not technically vintage, but it was built over in England, and it has a Chesterfield plaque on it, a little placard at the base of the back of the sofa. And over in England or Europe, they have a kind of like an association for people that build Chesterfields, and this particular placard is saying, hey, it is up to those standards, which is pretty cool. And this thing's like 100 inches long. It's an 8-foot sofa, which is not a standard length of sofa. So it's, instead of a 3-seater, it's probably a 4 or a 5-seater sofa, which is pretty awesome for what I need. It's not comfortable though, so that's kind of a bummer, but I'm not buying lounge furniture for Sugar Creek to be comfortable, to be honest. But yeah, so out shopping, new assistant by herself, and I've been working on getting my fall garden ready out at my new homestead place. And I've invested time and resources in making this new fall garden happen before I'm really truly set up to have a fall garden out there. But we have made it work. I have a big water container. I think it's a 350-something gallon water container. And I have a battery-powered pump. And I have a water hose and a sprayer. And yeah, so I have a way to water. I don't have any electricity out there yet, although I did ask the co-op to, what are the next steps for me to set up temporary power, because that is coming. My house pad is in, which is awesome. We're just trying to finalize our plans, and I think I'm on the home stretch with that, and that's exciting too. And knowing next spring, I will for sure be shopping for my house, which I don't think I ever thought I would say, but here we are, so that's fun. And so the juggle is real, and this is what I say and what I mean by the juggle is real. So knowing I was going to be out of town, I asked my new assistant if she would take care of my plants that I have been nurturing before I could get them into the ground out at my farm. And I taught her how to appropriately water them and handle them while I was gone, because she's not a dedicated plant lady like myself. And she messaged me, like going into me leaving, she had a family member go into a coma. And it was her aunt. Her aunt was 32. And she was like, I don't really know what's going to happen if my aunt doesn't come out of the coma or whatever, but there might be a chance that I have to travel to South Texas to be with my family. And I said, no problem. Just let me know if you're unable to water, because the not working part, totally cool. But the watering part, I need somebody that can water, because a lot of these plants are baby plants, or I've grown them from seed, and they need a lot of moisture, and they have to be taken care of twice a day, especially since we are still in a very warm season with no rain. Like, we are on track for Texas in the month of October to have a record dry month since the 1800s. Like, this is so freaking crazy how dry we are for October. And so it's very important that my plants get watered. So she messaged me on Thursday and was like, hey, I have to go down with my family. My aunt has passed away, and I will work Thursday, but I won't be here on Friday. So I messaged my other assistant. We have a bookkeeper. And I said, hey, my new assistant, her aunt passed away. Is there any way that you can make sure you come in to water on Friday? She said, yes, I can totally do that. I can't water Friday night because I have XYZ, but I can water on Friday morning. And I said, perfect. I will be back Friday night so I can handle that. So Friday happens. I'm out shopping. I'm enjoying myself. And I message around 2 and say, hey, how did the watering go? And I asked about packages that got delivered, because my other assistant was like, hey, yeah, she handled the packages that were delivered yesterday. And I was like, okay. So I'm asking for an update. And crickets. She's usually fairly quick to get back. So I message again about 4:45, and I'm like, hey, so I just checked all of my cameras and you didn't show up to water today. So what's up with that? She finally messages me back and says she had a family emergency. Her husband's grandfather passed away. She had to take his mom back to Mexico. And I sat there looking at that message, thinking to myself, well, a quick text to say, hey, Taylor, I have a family emergency. I cannot make it today. That's all she would have had to say. Quick text. 5 words, 6 words, 7 words, like real quick. So I responded when I was able to finally respond. I'm so sorry to hear that, because truly having a family member pass away is not fun. So I again message, I'm so sorry to hear about the passing of his grandfather. However, a quick text alerting me to that would have allowed me to find someone else. And I will let you know when I have more work for you. Because I was just so mad. Because this assistant, I knew this was an excuse. And I hate that I knew that this was an excuse, because I give so much grace to people that work for me. So much grace. I'm very easy to work for. I do have very clear expectations, at least I think I do. I communicate well, and I set the boundaries that I need to set. But yet, people still find ways to take advantage. And when she finally responded, she told me she forgot. She told me she forgot. And that's what I really thought when I got the message about the family emergency. Because here's the thing. Her husband's brother lives in this town. His wife and him are also capable of getting their mom or his mom, her mother-in-law, to Mexico. Like lots of people in town to help get mom to Mexico. So I didn't think that that was actually the reason. I knew it was because she forgot. And it's not the first time that a lie has been said. Actually, a week prior, a lie was said to my face. And when I later followed up with said lie, actually, I didn't know it was a lie at the time. But when you lead with, I've got bad news, I should have known. But yeah, that was a lie to my face that started with, I've got bad news. Because when I followed up with it, again, at the time, I didn't know it was a lie. When I followed up with it, the truth came out. Oh my gosh. So juggling how to handle your business while you got to go away or while you have something already in your calendar. And this particular assistant did message me yesterday and was like, hey, I'm finally back from Mexico. Do you have any work for me? And to be honest, I'm just not A, ready to have the conversation that I need to have with her, but B, I'm in a class all week long this week. I am taking a certification course for the estimating software that I use in our roofing business. And I need to be able to have those credentials to better help me do some arguing with the insurance companies. And so I am in class from 9 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday this week, which I haven't sat still that long in quite some time, which is a whole nother thing. But I still have things like falling through the cracks, because how do you juggle being in class, bettering yourself when all of these other things are still trying to be run, trying to continue moving forward. And then I got a message yesterday that another one of my tenants is moving out. The turnover that I've had in my rental property in the last year is crazy pants. And thankfully, I have a property management company that is handling all of that now, which has taken something off of my plate. And I think that that's something to think about. The juggle is real. The juggle really is real. Juggling multiple businesses is real. And the amount that is part of the juggle is real. And when you feel like you're struggling in one area, it's almost as if the struggle magnifies over in the other areas. And I don't know if that's intentional or if that's an unintentional, I haven't figured that out, but I feel like when I'm struggling in one area, other things start slipping through the cracks in the other area. And I feel maybe that that's because I have stress and anxiety in me that is then holding me captive to the struggle of that particular business or that particular thing that's happening. And so I don't have everything always figured out. I feel like when people look at what I do and hear what I do and hear about my day to day, I feel like there's rose-colored glasses on or something. It is not rainbows and roses in my world all the time. I feel like there's constant hurdles. There's constant things happening that I have to figure out. And my husband actually said to me, golly, Taylor, this is why you really struggle with friends, because of how you are. And I was like, thanks, babe. That's a vote of confidence. So then it just makes me feel like maybe I am the problem. And then I spiral through that. I'm like, no, I'm making really good money across everything that I do. And I've made so many sacrifices. We've made so many sacrifices. And no, if you're going to get in my way, I'm going to shut that down. And the bookkeeper assistant, I feel like she's worked for me the longest. And I've known her for 18 years. And I'm like, you of all people should know that this is not a button you push. That you of all people should know this. And so that's why I'm kind of wanting to avoid the conversation, but also knowing that I'm juggling so much in this particular week that I can't have the conversation yet. And I'm not over it. I'm not over the lying. And I think that that is something also that sometimes we fail to give ourselves grace in how we handle things and how they make us feel. And sometimes we're just like moving so fast in our lives that we don't give ourselves an opportunity to have feelings about things. And I'm not saying we should dawdle on those things. I'm not saying that we should like spend any more time than we need to, but I also think that we shove things down pretty easily and move forward without ever acknowledging how it makes us feel. So the juggle is real right now. Training a new assistant, getting to like know her personality and her quirks and like how she best works and functions and all of that. And then like also keeping all the things like up in the air and going and moving forward and, you know, trying to play catch up from being gone for a whole week and really not having a whole lot of internet that's accessible out when you're shopping, which is so wild considering we're in 2024. Like, why is there not cell phone towers out there handling all of that? I feel like there are places like sporting events and festivals and concerts and things that handle cell phone usage so much better than Round Top, Texas. But so I just want you to know I am human just like you. The juggle is real. And yeah, I also, if you've made it this far in the episode, I also would like you to hit pause right now. Pop over to my Instagram DMs at Boss Girl Creative. First of all, I just want you to say hello that you're listening. Second, I would love to hear what kind of conversations you would like to hear on future episodes of the podcast. What kind of topics, what kind of conversations do you want to hear? Because I want to make sure that I'm fulfilling why you listen to this show. So hit that pause button, go over to Instagram to Boss Girl Creative, slide into my DMs, let's chat. I want to say hello to you. So say hello first, and then let's chat about what you'd like to hear about on future episodes of the podcast. But also, I just want to get to know you and where you are in your business, what you do in your business, what your business is all about. And yeah, so hit that pause button, come say hello. And then until next time, beautiful human, I hope you have a great rest of this week and a fantastic start. We're getting so close to Halloween. It's crazy. And yeah, until next time, I will chat with you next week. Hey, real quick, before I go, I wanted to pop back in and say again, thank you so much for listening to this latest episode of the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast. I would so love a favor from you right now. Would you please share this episode with a friend or share it to your social media and tag me at Boss Girl Creative? Oh my gosh, that would mean so much to me if you did that right now. Okay, I'll see you next week with a brand new episode.